A woman sat in my office, tears streaming down her face. Her hands were trembling as she clutched a tissue. "Dr. Murphy," she said, her voice breaking. "I've tried everything. I really have. I affirm every morning. I am wealthy, I am abundant, I am prosperous. I say it over and over. I visualize money coming to me. I see myself paying bills with ease. I pray every single night on my knees begging God to help me. But I'm still broke. I'm still struggling. My wallet is empty except for bills I can't pay. The electricity might get shut off next week. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I'm failing at everything, even at faith." I looked at this dear woman, feeling such compassion for her struggle, because I knew it well. I'd been there myself. I asked her gently, "May I see your wallet?" She hesitated, embarrassed, her eyes dropping to her lap. "It's a mess," she whispered. "I don't want you to see." But I assured her it was important, and slowly she reached into her purse and handed it to me. Her hands were shaking. I opened her wallet and immediately understood everything. Inside were collection notices, folded up small, covered with red stamps, overdue bills with highlighted amounts due, a photo of her family where everyone looked stressed and worried, a list written on torn paper of debts she owed, a picture of her old car that had broken down, even a medical bill she couldn't afford to pay. Every single item in this wallet was a document of lack, a reminder of struggle, an image of poverty. I looked at her and said gently but directly, "Your wallet is a shrine to poverty." She looked up at me, confused, not understanding. I continued, "You carry this shrine with you everywhere. You visit this shrine 3 times a day, 5 times a day, maybe 10 times a day every time you open your wallet to get a card, to check for money, to pull out a receipt. And every single time you open this shrine, your eyes see lack, your mind thinks worry, your heart feels fear, you're praying to poverty multiple times every single day, and your subconscious mind, which is completely faithful and obedient, is receiving that prayer and saying, 'Yes, this is what you want more of, I will create more poverty for you.'" She started crying harder. "I didn't know," she said. "I just kept these things so I'd remember to deal with them, so I wouldn't forget what needed fixing." I nodded. "I know," I said. "But that's not how the subconscious works. Your subconscious doesn't understand intentions. It only understands impressions. And you've been impressing lack, worry, debt, and fear on your deeper mind dozens of times every single day." I reached into my desk and took out a small blank card. I picked up my pen and wrote 3 numbers very clearly on the card. 369. She watched me, still confused, tears still on her cheeks. I turned the card over and wrote on the back, "God's infinite supply flows to me now." Then I took her wallet, removed every single document of lack, every bill, every notice, every worried photo, and I placed them on my desk. "Your shrine is now empty," I said. "Now we're going to make it a temple." I placed the card with those 3 numbers in her wallet where the bills had been, right where she'd see it every time she opened it. I looked into her eyes and said, "Put this in your wallet. Keep it there. Every time you see these numbers, I'm going to teach you exactly what to think, what to feel, and what to accept. For 9 days, just 9 days, you're going to do something different than you've ever done before. You're going to stop worshiping at the shrine of poverty and start praying in the temple of prosperity." She left my office that day with instructions, with hope, but also with doubt. I could see it in her eyes. But she committed. She said she'd try. And 9 days later, my telephone rang. "Dr. Murphy, it's me," she said, and her voice was completely different. It was light, joyful, amazed. "Dr. Murphy, I don't understand what happened. I did what you said. Every time I opened my wallet, I saw those numbers. I stopped and I felt grateful. I felt supplied. I felt like God was taking care of me even though nothing had changed yet. And then, Dr. Murphy, money came from nowhere." She continued rapidly, barely able to contain her excitement. "An unexpected check arrived in the mail, a refund from something I'd completely forgotten about. Then my sister called and paid back money I'd loaned her 2 years ago. I thought I'd never see that money again. Then at work, my boss gave me a bonus I didn't know was coming. And yesterday I got a notice that an old bank account I'd opened years ago and forgotten about had money in it. Not a fortune, but enough. Enough to pay the electricity, enough to catch up on the urgent bills. It's like the universe suddenly saw me for the first time. like I suddenly became visible. I smiled, feeling the joy I always feel when someone discovers this truth. I said to her gently, "No, dear. The universe always saw you. God always heard you. But your subconscious mind, your creative power, was busy creating poverty because that's what you were impressing on it. Now, for 9 days, you impress something different. You impress supply, abundance, gratitude, and your faithful subconscious said, 'Yes, this is the new prayer, I will answer this one.' Your subconscious finally heard you speaking the language of abundance instead of the language of lack. That's what changed. Not God, not the universe, but your consciousness. And when consciousness changes, the outer world must change to match it. This is law. Now, let me teach you what I taught her. Let me teach you what I've taught thousands of people over 30 years of counseling and ministry. Let me teach you the divine code that will transform your wallet from a shrine of poverty into a temple of prosperity. What I'm going to share with you in the next 80 minutes is going to change everything you think you know about money, about prosperity, about wealth, about why you've struggled despite your prayers and your hard work and your sincere desire to be free from financial worry. You're going to understand something that will shock you at first and then liberate you completely. You're going to understand why your wallet, that simple leather or fabric object you carry with you every single day, is either making you rich or keeping you poor. Not because of what's in it, but because of what it represents to your subconscious mind. And you're going to learn what I call the divine code. 3 numbers, simple numbers that a child could understand, that represent the exact pattern your subconscious mind uses to create your entire financial reality. These 3 numbers, 3, 6, 9, are going to become your reminder, your tool, your key to unlocking the prosperity that is rightfully yours, that has always been yours, but that you've been unconsciously blocking through patterns of thought and feeling that nobody ever taught you how to change. Now, before we go any further, before I teach you this code, let me tell you very clearly what this isn't. This isn't about lucky numbers. I'm not teaching numerology. I'm not saying these numbers have magical power floating in the universe waiting to grant your wishes. This isn't superstition. This isn't magic. This isn't some new age mysticism or wishful thinking or positive affirmations that make you feel good for 5 minutes but change nothing in your bank account. What I'm going to teach you is based on 30 years of counseling thousands of people, sitting face to face with real human beings who had real financial struggles, from housewives worried about feeding their children to businessmen on the verge of bankruptcy, from young people just starting out with nothing, to older people who'd worked their whole lives and still had nothing, from artists who couldn't sell their work to executives who made good money but somehow never had enough. I've seen every kind of financial struggle you can imagine. I've heard every story. I've witnessed every pattern, and I've seen what works. Not because I sat in an office and theorized about it, not because I read it in ancient books and decided to believe it, but because I tested it in the laboratory of real human lives, including my own journey from immigrant poverty, from empty pockets and an emptier stomach, to abundance, to prosperity, to a life where money flows as naturally as water flows downhill. I've lived both sides. I know poverty intimately, I know wealth intimately, and I know exactly what creates the difference between them. You see, right now, this very moment as you listen to my voice, you're tired, bone tired, soul tired, you're tired of worrying about bills. Every time the mail comes, there's a knot in your stomach. Which bill is it today? Which notice? Which reminder that you're behind, that you're not enough, that you're failing? You're tired of checking your bank account with dread, that sinking feeling when you log in and see a number smaller than you hoped, smaller than you need, smaller than you deserve. You avoid looking at it sometimes because you can't bear to see the truth of your financial situation staring back at you in cold numbers on a screen. You're tired of feeling like everyone else has the secret except you. You see people around you who seem to have plenty, who spend without worry, who talk about money casually like it's no big deal, and you wonder, what do they know that I don't know? What am I missing? What's wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? You've read books about prosperity. You've listened to teachers talk about abundance. You understand the concepts intellectually. But somehow the gap between understanding and experiencing feels impossibly wide. Your wallet, right now, feels like a weight in your pocket or purse. It's not a source of joy, it's a source of stress. You know what's in there, or more accurately, what's not in there, and opening it feels like opening a wound. Money doesn't feel like a friend or a tool or energy flowing through your life. Money feels like a mystery, like a puzzle you can't solve, like something other people understand through some secret knowledge you were never given access to. And prosperity, the very word prosperity, feels like something for other people, not for you. You've accepted, maybe without even realizing you've accepted it, that financial struggle is just your lot in life. Maybe it's because of how you were raised. Maybe it's because of mistakes you made. Maybe it's because of your education or lack of education, your job or lack of job, your circumstances that feel unchangeable. Maybe you've even started to believe that God wants you poor for some reason, that poverty is somehow more spiritual than wealth, that struggle builds character and ease destroys it. You've tried affirmations. Oh, how you've tried. I am wealthy. I am abundant. Money flows to me easily. I am a magnet for prosperity. You've said these words dozens of times, hundreds of times, thousands of times. You've stood in front of mirrors and declared them. You've written them in journals. You've repeated them as you fall asleep. And yet nothing changes. Or worse, you feel like a liar when you say them because the words feel so far from your reality that speaking them creates a painful gap between what you're saying and what you're experiencing. You've tried positive thinking. You've tried to focus on the good, to be grateful for what you have, to count your blessings instead of your lacks. And that's beautiful, that's important, but somehow it doesn't translate into more money in your account. You can be grateful and still be broke. You can be positive and still struggle. The positive thinking feels good momentarily but doesn't seem to have any creative power to change your actual circumstances. And you've prayed. Oh, how you've prayed. You've prayed until you're exhausted from praying. You've begged God for help with tears running down your face. You've promised to be better, to do better, to give more if only God would give you more first. You've prayed with faith and with doubt and with desperation. You've prayed in churches and in your bedroom and in your car, sitting in parking lots trying to compose yourself before going into work. You've prayed and prayed and prayed, and still nothing changes. Or worse, things get harder, and you start to wonder if God even hears you, if your prayers even matter, if maybe you're somehow excluded from the prosperity that others seem to access so easily. The bills keep coming, the expenses keep rising, the emergencies keep happening, your car breaks down, your tooth needs work, your child needs something for school, the rent goes up, the prices go up, and your income stays flat or shrinks. And the gap between what you have and what you need gets wider and wider, and the stress gets heavier and heavier, and you're so tired, so desperately tired of this constant struggle. But now, right now, imagine something different with me for a moment. Close your eyes if you're in a place where you can do that safely, or just let your mind go there with me. Imagine opening your wallet tomorrow morning, and instead of that familiar dread, that tightness in your chest, that sinking feeling, you feel peace. Just peace. Calm, quiet, deep peace about money. Not because your wallet is suddenly stuffed with $100 bills, though that may come in time, but because something has fundamentally shifted inside you. Your consciousness about money has changed. The way you relate to money has transformed. The feeling you have when you think about money is completely different. Imagine that the anxiety is gone. That constant low-level worry that's been your companion for so long, it's just gone. Replaced with a quiet confidence, a knowing, a sense that you are supplied, that you are cared for, that infinite intelligence is moving through your life to meet every need and fulfill every right desire. Imagine feeling that. Really feeling it. Not hoping for it someday, but experiencing it now. Imagine money coming to you naturally, easily, joyfully, through channels you expect, yes, your job or business or whatever you do, but also through channels you don't expect. A refund you'd forgotten about. A gift from an unexpected source. An opportunity that appears out of nowhere. A raise you didn't ask for. A bonus you didn't know was coming. A debt repaid that you'd written off. Clients or customers appearing with no advertising. Ideas that turn into income. Imagine your life becoming a demonstration that when your consciousness changes, supply flows. Imagine your subconscious mind, that incredible creative power within you, finally working for you instead of against you. All these years it's been faithfully creating poverty because that's what you've been unconsciously programming it to create. But now imagine it's been reprogrammed. Now it's broadcasting abundance. Now it's attracting prosperity. Now it's creating wealth, with the same reliable power that it used to create lack. Same power, opposite direction, completely different results. Imagine 9 days from now, just 9 short days looking back at this very moment, at these words you're hearing right now, and recognizing this as the turning point, the moment everything shifted, the moment you finally understood, the moment you received the divine code and decided to apply it, the moment your financial life divided into before and after, before when you struggled, after when you thrived, and that dividing line is right here, right now, in the choice you're about to make. Let me explain what I mean. You've affirmed I am wealthy 1,000 times while feeling poor inside. Every time you did that, you impressed poverty on your subconscious mind, not wealth. Because here's the secret that nobody tells you. Your subconscious mind doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your feelings. You can say I am rich until you're blue in the face, but if you feel broke while you're saying it, your subconscious receives the feeling, not the words, and it faithfully produces more of what you're feeling. This is why hard work alone doesn't make you wealthy. You can work yourself to exhaustion, but if your consciousness is programmed for lack, you'll just create exhausting poverty instead of relaxed abundance. Your subconscious is working against you 24 hours a day, and more effort without consciousness change is just more suffering. And your prayers. Oh, I know you've prayed sincerely, desperately, faithfully. But here's what's happening. You're praying for money, which means you're praying from the consciousness of not having money. You're praying from lack. And the prayer from lack impresses more lack on the subconscious. It's like begging God for something you think you don't have, and that very begging is telling your deeper mind, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. And your faithful subconscious says, all right, you don't have it, and it keeps producing that reality. But imagine this with me for a moment. Imagine opening your wallet tomorrow morning and instead of dread you feel peace. Not because it's stuffed with $100 bills, though that may come, but because you finally programmed your subconscious mind for supply instead of lack. Imagine money coming to you naturally, through expected channels and unexpected channels, because your deeper mind is now broadcasting abundance instead of scarcity. Imagine 9 days from now, just 9 days, looking back at this very moment and recognizing it as the turning point, the moment everything shifted. That's what I'm offering you. Not theory floating in the clouds, not philosophy that sounds beautiful, but does nothing practical. A specific code, a specific practice, and a specific timeline. 9 days. Just 9 days of your life applied correctly can set in motion a transformation that continues for the rest of your life. The same pattern that lifted me from poverty to abundance, that's lifted thousands of people from struggle to supply, will lift you if you're willing to apply it faithfully. Now I know this exhaustion you're feeling because it was my exhaustion first. Let me tell you my story, not because I want to talk about myself, but because I want you to know that I've stood where you're standing. I've felt what you're feeling. And if the law worked for me, it will work for you, because the law is no respecter of persons. When I first came to America, I was broke. Not just poor, broke. There's a difference. Poor means you have a little but not enough. Broke means you have nothing, and you're wondering where your next meal is coming from. I arrived in this country with credentials from Ireland, with education, with knowledge of scripture and spiritual law that I'd studied deeply for years. I had faith. I believed in God. I understood intellectually that God was the source of all supply. But my wallet was empty, my stomach was emptier, and my future looked impossibly difficult. I remember walking through New York City those first months, seeing wealthy people everywhere, seeing abundance all around me, and feeling utterly separated from it. It was as if there was an invisible wall between me and prosperity. I could see it. I was surrounded by it. But I couldn't touch it. I couldn't access it. I lived in a tiny room that was barely big enough for a bed. I ate the cheapest food I could find, and sometimes I didn't eat because even the cheapest food cost money I didn't have. I wore the same clothes day after day because I couldn't afford more. And I felt shame, deep, burning shame. Because here's what made it worse. I was teaching people about spiritual principles. I had knowledge. I had understanding. I would counsel people and tell them about the power of their thoughts, the creative force of their subconscious mind, the laws of prosperity, and they would listen and thank me, and I would go home to my tiny room with my empty wallet and wonder, why doesn't this work for me? Why can I teach it but not live it? What's wrong with me? And one night, it was winter and I was cold because I couldn't afford enough heat. I sat on my bed with my wallet in my hands. I remember that moment so clearly. The room was dimly lit. I was discouraged, depressed, close to despair. I opened my wallet and inside was maybe $3, $3 to my name in a city where everything costs money, and I had been affirming prosperity for months. Every morning I would say, I am wealthy, I am abundant, God provides for all my needs. I would visualize money coming to me. I would pray at night, asking God to help me, to send me opportunities, to make a way where there seemed to be no way. But nothing was changing. If anything, things were getting worse. My rent was due and I didn't have it. I had been eating one meal a day to save money. I was walking everywhere because I couldn't afford transportation, and I felt like such a failure. All this spiritual knowledge, all these principles I taught others, and I couldn't make them work in my own life. And then, sitting there in that cold room with that empty wallet, something shifted. I don't know if it was desperation or revelation or both, but suddenly I understood what I'd been doing wrong. I realized I was running the code backward. Every single day I was thinking about lack. Not intentionally. I didn't wake up and say, today I will think poor thoughts. But automatically, habitually, unconsciously, my thoughts were dominated by lack. How will I pay rent? Where will money come from? Why don't I have enough? What's wrong with me? Every thought was a thought of poverty. And when I opened my wallet and saw those $3 lonely, what did I feel? Fear, anxiety, shame, worry, desperation. Every feeling was a feeling of lack. And what was my dominant belief? That I was broke, that prosperity was for others, that something was wrong with me, that maybe God didn't want me to have money. I believed in poverty more strongly than I believed in wealth, even though I taught about wealth. 3 movements of consciousness, I was making all 3 of them, but all 3 were pointed toward poverty, thinking lack, feeling lack, believing lack. And my subconscious mind, that faithful servant that I'd been teaching others about, was simply obeying my dominant consciousness. It was saying, yes, sir, you want lack, here's more lack. You want struggle, here's more struggle. You want poverty, I'll faithfully create more poverty. It wasn't being mean, it wasn't punishing me. It was being obedient to the consciousness I was impressing on it, and in that moment of clarity, I understood something profound. The same power that was making me poor could make me rich. I didn't need a different power. I didn't need more power. I needed to turn the power around, to run it in the opposite direction, to use the same creative force for wealth that I'd been unconsciously using for poverty. So I did something very simple that night, something that would change my entire life. I took a piece of paper and I wrote 3 numbers on it clearly. 3, 6, 9. Not because I thought those numbers had magic in them, but because I needed a reminder, a symbol, something to trigger my memory and my commitment. 3 represented the 3 movements of consciousness I had to make consciously from that moment on. 6 represented the 6 principles I'd been teaching but not living. And 9 represented the 9 days I was going to commit to running the code forward without wavering, without doubt, without giving up. I placed that paper in my wallet right where I'd see it every time I opened it, right next to those $3, and I made a decision, a real decision. Not a wish, not a hope, but a committed decision. For 9 days, no matter what my circumstances looked like, no matter what my bank account said, no matter what fear tried to tell me, every single time I opened my wallet I would make 3 different movements. I would think abundance. I would feel abundance. I would believe and accept abundance as my present reality. When I saw that paper with those numbers, I would stop. I wouldn't just automatically feel fear and lack. I would pause, even if just for 3 seconds, and I would consciously choose my consciousness. I would think, God's infinite supply is mine now. I would feel what it would feel like to be supplied, to be cared for, to have plenty. I would accept that in the realm of infinite intelligence, all supply already exists, and I was opening myself to receive it. The first day was hard, so hard. My logical mind kept interrupting. This is foolish, it said. You're broke and you're pretending you're rich. This is denial, not faith. You're lying to yourself. Look at your bank account. Look at your empty wallet. Look at reality. But I persisted, because I understood something my logical mind didn't. The subconscious mind, which is the creative mind, doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one vividly imagined with feeling. When I felt wealthy while looking at that paper in my wallet, regardless of the $3 next to it, My subconscious received an impression of wealth, and it had to begin expressing what I was impressing. The second day was similar. Old habits of thought were strong, but I caught myself. Every time I started to worry, I'd take out my wallet, look at those numbers, and reset my consciousness. Think abundance, feel abundance, accept abundance. The third day, something subtle shifted. The anxiety was less, the fear was quieter. I wasn't seeing outer results yet, but I felt different inside. There was a tiny spark of hope, of possibility, of faith starting to grow. By day 5, I started noticing things I hadn't noticed before. Opportunities that had probably always been there, but I'd been too clouded by poverty consciousness to see. A chance to do some teaching for a small fee. A person who needed exactly the knowledge I had and could pay me for sharing it. Small things, but meaningful things. My outer circumstances were starting to shift. Slowly, subtly, but unmistakably. By day 7, I had more money than I'd started with. Not wealth, not abundance yet, but more. The increase was proof that something was working, and more importantly, my consciousness felt completely different. I felt supplied even though I wasn't wealthy yet. I felt cared for. I felt like I was moving in the right direction. The desperation was gone. The despair was gone. I felt peace. By day 9, my entire world had shifted. I can't explain it in purely logical terms, but everything was different. Money was flowing where it hadn't flowed before. Opportunities were opening that had been closed. People were responding to me differently because I was carrying myself differently. My consciousness had changed, and the outer world was rearranging itself to match my new inner world. Not overnight, not with some miraculous windfall, but unmistakably, reliably, according to law. That was decades ago now. And everything I have today, everything I've been able to do, every person I've been able to help, every teaching I've been able to share, it all started in that cold room with $3 and 3 numbers written on a piece of paper. It started when I stopped running the divine code backward and started running it forward. When I stopped using my creative power to make poverty and started using it to create wealth. And here's what I want you to understand. I'm not special. I don't have access to some power you don't have. I'm not more spiritual or more deserving or more loved by God. The law works the same for everyone. The subconscious creates for everyone. The principle is impersonal. What I did, you can do. What worked for me will work for you. Because it's not about me or you. It's about understanding and applying the law of consciousness correctly. Now, these 3 numbers I wrote on that card for the woman in my office and on the paper for myself all those years ago, 369, they're not random. They're not just numbers I pulled out of thin air. Let me explain to you why these specific numbers and what they represent. You may have heard that Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest scientific minds who ever lived, a man who understood electricity and energy and frequency better than almost anyone in human history, you may have heard that he said something profound about these numbers. He said, if you only knew the magnificence of the 3, the 6, and the 9, then you would have a key to the universe. Tesla understood something that most scientists don't understand. He understood that all of creation operates in patterns, in rhythms, in frequencies. Nothing in the universe is random. Everything follows pattern. And your consciousness, your mind, your creative power, it operates in the same patterns that govern all of creation. You are not separate from the universe. You are part of it. The same laws that govern the stars and the planets and the atoms also govern your thoughts and your feelings and your creative power. This is why spiritual law isn't separate from natural law. It's all one law operating at different levels. But I'm not teaching you numerology. I'm not saying these numbers themselves have mystical power floating out in space. I'm not saying that just writing 3, 6, 9 on paper makes money appear. That would be superstition, and I don't teach superstition. I teach law. I teach principle. I teach how consciousness works and how to use it correctly. What I'm showing you is that these 3 numbers represent the divine pattern of creation itself, a pattern that your subconscious mind already knows intimately because it's the pattern by which everything is created. 3 represents the 3 movements of consciousness you must make to create anything. 6 represents the 6 principles that govern all prosperity, all abundance, all wealth in every person's life. And 9 represents the 9 days, the commitment time, the period it takes to impress your subconscious mind completely with a new pattern so deeply that it becomes dominant over the old pattern and begins expressing in your life. Let me break this down so you understand each piece. The three. This is the Holy Trinity, not just in religious terms, but in creative terms. To create anything in your life, three things must align perfectly: your thinking, your feeling, and your believing. These are the three movements of consciousness, the three aspects of your creative power. And most people, probably including you until now, only use one or two of them. They think about what they want sometimes, or they feel good about it occasionally, or they vaguely believe it's possible. But manifestation, real creation, requires all three aligned simultaneously and consistently. You have to think it clearly and specifically, not vague wishes but clear thoughts. I am wealthy. God's supply is mine. Money flows to me easily. Clear thoughts, repeated thoughts, dominant thoughts, but thinking alone creates nothing. Your thoughts alone have no power without the second movement. You have to feel it deeply and genuinely. This is the secret that changes everything. Feel what it feels like to have what you're thinking about. If you're thinking abundance, feel abundant. If you're thinking wealth, feel wealthy. If you're thinking supply, feel supplied. Not someday, not when it appears, but right now. Feel it now. Because feeling is the language your subconscious understands. Your subconscious doesn't respond to words, it responds to feeling. The feeling is what impresses it. The feeling is what gets accepted. The feeling is what creates. And you have to believe it completely and accept it as reality. Not hope for it, not wish for it, not try to make yourself believe it, actually believe it, accept it, know it as truth. In the realm of infinite intelligence, in the realm of divine possibility, it already exists. You're not creating something out of nothing. You're accepting something that already is in consciousness and allowing it to manifest in your experience. This acceptance, this belief, this faith is what seals the prayer. It's what tells your subconscious, this is done, express it now. Three movements: thinking, feeling, believing. When all three align and point in the same direction, when all three are working together toward the same reality, creation is inevitable. But most people run split code. They think one thing, feel another, and believe a third. They think I am wealthy while feeling broke and believing poverty is their lot. And which impression does the subconscious receive? Always the dominant feeling and belief, not the wishful thinking. This is why affirmations alone don't work. You can say I am rich 1,000,000 times, but if you feel poor while you're saying it and believe deep down that you'll always be broke, your subconscious receives poor and broke, not rich. The words are meaningless without the feeling and the belief behind them. But when you align all three, when your thinking, feeling, and believing all point toward wealth, your subconscious has no choice but to create wealth. This is law. This is the power of three. Now the six. Six represents the six fundamental principles that govern all prosperity, all money, all abundance in every single person's life without exception. These principles aren't my opinion. They're not religious dogma. They're observable, testable, repeatable laws of consciousness that work whether you believe in them or not, whether you understand them or not, whether you like them or not. But understanding them and aligning with them consciously is how you harness their power instead of being a victim of your unconscious violation of them. I'm going to teach you these six principles in depth in a little while, but let me introduce them briefly now so you understand why six is part of the code. First principle: consciousness is cause, circumstances are effect. Your financial situation is the effect. Your consciousness about money is the cause. Change the cause, the effect must change. Second principle: the subconscious accepts what you impress upon it. Whatever you repeatedly impress with feeling, your subconscious accepts as true and must express as reality. Third principle: feeling is the secret. Not thinking, not visualizing, but feeling. The feeling is what impresses, what creates, what manifests. Fourth principle: what you feel, you attract and create. Your dominant feeling about money determines what money situations you attract and create in your life. Fifth principle: your outer world is your inner world made visible. Everything in your bank account is your consciousness pushed out, made tangible. Sixth principle: supply follows the person in supply consciousness. You don't get money then feel abundant. You feel abundant first, and then money flows to that consciousness. Six principles. Learn them, Understand them, embody them, and prosperity becomes automatic. Violate them, even unconsciously, and poverty is inevitable. These principles are working in your life right now, whether you're aware of them or not. The question is, are you working with them consciously or against them unconsciously? And now the 9. Why 9 days? Why not 3 days or 30 days or 100 days? Because 9 days is the specific time it takes to impress your subconscious mind with a new pattern so deeply that it begins to override the old pattern and becomes the dominant program running your life. Let me explain why. Your subconscious mind has been programmed with poverty consciousness for how long? 5 years? 10 years? 20 years? Your whole life? Those patterns are deep. Those grooves are established. They're running automatically, creating your current financial reality automatically without any conscious input from you. One day of opposite impression, one day of thinking and feeling abundance, is barely a scratch on those deep grooves. It's a drop in the ocean of poverty programming. 3 days is better, you're starting to create a new groove, but it's still weak compared to years of the old groove. But 9 days of consistent, focused, feeling-filled, unbroken impression begins to cut a new groove deep enough to compete with the old one. 9 days of running the code forward instead of backward starts to establish a new dominant pattern. 9 days is the tipping point where the new pattern gains enough strength to override the old pattern and begin expressing in your life. This isn't arbitrary. This isn't me making up a number. This is based on how the subconscious mind works, how patterns are established, how habits are formed, how consciousness shifts. Too short and the impression isn't deep enough. Too long and most people lose commitment and consistency. 9 days is the perfect balance. Long enough to create real change. Short enough to maintain focused commitment. But the 9 days must be unbroken. Consecutive, no gaps, no days off, no forgetting. Because every break weakens the new impression and strengthens the old pattern. If you run the code forward for 3 days, then run it backward on day 4, you've basically started over. The subconscious doesn't accumulate partial impressions. It responds to dominant, consistent patterns. 9 unbroken days is what creates the shift. Other teachers tell you to think positive, to work harder, to manifest your dreams, but they don't tell you how. They don't give you the operating manual for the subconscious mind. I'm giving you that manual. This isn't manifestation. This is impressing the deeper mind with scientific precision until it must express what you've impressed. This is the difference between wishing and creating, between hoping and knowing, between trying and succeeding. Your wallet, that simple object, is actually the most powerful tool you have for reprogramming your subconscious mind for wealth. Why? Because you access it multiple times every day. Every time you open it, you're in a prayer session. Every time you look inside, you're impressing something on your deeper mind. Right now, what are you impressing? Fear? Worry? Scarcity? Those collection notices, those empty spaces, those reminders of what you can't afford, they're prayers. And your subconscious is answering them faithfully by producing more of the same. But when you place these 3 numbers in your wallet, everything changes. Not because the numbers have power, but because they become a pattern interrupt. They remind you, in that moment when you open your wallet, to make a choice. Do I run the divine code forward or backward right now? Do I feel lack or do I feel supply? Do I worship at the shrine of poverty or do I pray in the temple of prosperity? I know your struggle because it was my struggle. I know the shame of an empty wallet, the fear of bills piling up, the exhaustion of trying everything spiritual while staying poor materially. And I know the joy, the absolute joy when you finally crack the code and watch your subconscious begin producing wealth as reliably as it once produced poverty. That joy is why I'm here. That transformation is what the next hour brings you. So let me tell you about the people who taught me this wasn't theory, it was law. I told you about my own journey, arriving in America with education but no money. The credentials meant nothing without opportunity. I had knowledge of spiritual law, I had studied the great teachers, I understood the principles, but I was living in a tiny room, eating the cheapest food, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake coming to this country. One night I sat on my bed with my wallet in my hands. It contained maybe $3. I had been affirming prosperity for months. I had been visualizing abundance. I had been praying, but nothing was changing. And that night, something shifted in my understanding. I realized I was running the code backward. Every day I was thinking about lack, not intentionally, but automatically. I'd wake up and the first thought was, how will I pay rent? I'd open my wallet and feel fear. I'd see successful people and feel envy mixed with hopelessness. 3 movements: thinking lack, feeling lack, accepting lack as my reality. And my subconscious, that faithful servant, was saying, yes sir, lack is what you want, lack is what you'll get. I understood in that moment that the same power that was making me poor could make me rich. It wasn't about getting a different power. It was about turning the power around, running it in the opposite direction. So I did something very simple. I took a piece of paper and wrote 3 numbers. 3, 6, 9. I wrote it as a reminder. 3 movements of consciousness I must make. 6 principles I must embody. 9 days I must commit without wavering. I placed that paper in my wallet. And I made a decision. For 9 days, every single time I opened my wallet, I would run the code forward instead of backward. I would think abundance, feel abundance, and accept abundance as my reality regardless of what my bank account said. When I saw that paper with those numbers, I would stop just for a moment and feel what it feels like to be supplied by infinite intelligence. Not someday, not when circumstances change. Right now in that very moment. The first few days were hard. My logical mind kept arguing. You're broke, it said. This is foolish. You're pretending. But I persisted. Because I understood something crucial. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one vividly imagined with feeling. When I felt wealthy while looking at that paper in my wallet, my subconscious received the impression of wealth, and it had to express what I was impressing. By day 3, I noticed something subtle. I felt different. Not necessarily happier, but more at peace. The anxiety about money was less. By day 5, opportunities I hadn't noticed before started appearing. A chance to do some teaching. A person who needed exactly what I could offer. By day 9, my entire world had shifted. Not dramatically, not with some miracle windfall, but unmistakably, money was flowing, opportunities were opening. And I realized the outer world was finally matching the inner world I'd been building for 9 days. That was decades ago, and I've taught this same principle to thousands of people since then. Let me tell you about some of them. There was a businesswoman who came to see me. She was successful in many areas of her life. She had a good career, she had friends, she had education. But money slipped through her fingers, like water. She couldn't understand it. She made decent income, but she was always broke, always behind, always anxious. I asked to see her wallet, just as I did with the woman I told you about at the beginning. Inside her wallet was a catalog of worry, unpaid bills folded up small, collection notices, a photo of her car that had broken down, a list of debts she owed, and every single day, multiple times a day, she opened this wallet. She looked at these items, and what was her subconscious receiving? A constant prayer of lack, debt, breakdown, worry. Her wallet had become a shrine, and she was worshiping there 3, 4, 5 times a day minimum. I explained this to her. Your wallet is the most visited shrine in your life. More than any church. More than any temple. You go to this shrine. And what you keep in this shrine, your subconscious treats as sacred. It says, this must be what you want more of because you're meditating on it constantly. She started to cry because she finally understood. She wasn't just carrying bills. She was carrying prayers for more bills. We cleaned out her wallet together. Every document of lack, every reminder of debt, every image of problems, we removed them. Then I wrote those 3 numbers on a card. 3, 6, 9. On the back I wrote, God's infinite supply flows to me now. I placed it where she'd see it every time she opened her wallet. And I taught her what I'm teaching you. Every time you see these numbers, you have a choice. Run the code forward or backward. Feel supplied or feel lacking. It's your choice, but you must choose consciously. She committed to 9 days. She told me later it was the hardest and most important commitment she'd ever made. because dozens of times a day she'd open that wallet, and each time her old habit wanted to feel anxiety. But that card with those numbers would catch her eye, and she'd stop, and she'd choose. She'd take 3 seconds and feel gratitude. Thank you for supply. She'd feel wealth. I am abundant. She'd feel acceptance. All is well. 3 movements. Forward code. 9 days later she called me. Dr. Murphy, I don't know how to explain this. Money came from everywhere. An unexpected refund. A bonus she didn't know she was getting. A forgotten account with money in it. A friend repaying an old debt she'd written off. It was like the universe suddenly saw her. I said, no, dear. The universe always saw you. But your subconscious finally heard you speaking the language of abundance instead of the language of lack. You stopped praying for poverty and started praying for prosperity. Your faithful subconscious simply obeyed the new instruction. Let me tell you about a young man who came to me. He was smart, ambitious, hardworking, but he was spinning his wheels financially. He'd noticed something interesting, though. He told me, Dr. Murphy, I've been watching wealthy people, not just wealthy in money, but wealthy in their whole approach to life. And they all have a pattern. They speak confidently. They carry themselves with certainty. They act from a feeling of abundance, even in small things. Meanwhile, I speak with doubt. I feel unworthy. I act from a feeling of lack in everything I do. I'm running the opposite pattern. This young man understood intuitively what most people never see. He was running the divine code backward. Same power, same creative force, just reversed. He spoke doubt, which impressed doubt on his subconscious. He felt unworthy, which impressed unworthiness. He acted from lack, which produced more lack. The code was 3, 6, 9 backward instead of forward. I taught him to reverse it consciously. We created his practice together. He would use 3, 6, 9 as his reminder. 3 movements to make consciously. Speak abundance, feel abundance, act from abundance. 6 times per day minimum. He would check in with himself and run this pattern, and he would commit for 9 days without breaking the chain. 9 days of running the code forward, every single day, multiple times a day. He took it seriously. He carried the reminder with him constantly, and he told me something beautiful on day 9. He said, Dr. Murphy, I'm not a different person. I'm the same person running a different program. And that's exactly right. You don't need to become someone else. You need to turn the code around. The power is already in you. You've been using it to create poverty. Now you use the exact same power to create wealth. Within weeks, his entire demeanor had changed. People responded to him differently. Opportunities came that hadn't come before. Money followed the new consciousness, the way iron follows a magnet. Not because he was lucky, because he stopped broadcasting lack and started broadcasting abundance. The outer world simply mirrors the inner world. Always has, always will. There was a retired teacher who came to me, a wonderful woman, on a fixed income. She was praying for money every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. Her prayers were passionate, sincere, full of emotion. But nothing was happening. In fact, things seemed to be getting worse. She was frustrated with God. She was frustrated with spiritual law. She said to me, Dr. Murphy, if prayer works, why don't my prayers work? I pray more than anyone I know. I asked her to show me how she prayed, and as she demonstrated, I saw the problem immediately. Her prayer was perfect anxiety. She would say, God, please help me. I need money so desperately. I don't have enough. Please send me money. I'm so worried. Please, please, please. Every single phrase was dripping with the feeling of lack and fear. She was praying from the consciousness of poverty while asking for the consciousness of wealth. It's like trying to drive forward with the car in reverse. The engine is running, but you're going backward. I taught her what I'm teaching you now. Your prayer is backward. You're praying from lack for abundance. This impresses lack on your subconscious. Instead, you must pray from abundance with thanksgiving. Pray as if you already have what you're seeking, because in consciousness, in the realm of the divine, you do have it. The outer manifestation follows the inner acceptance, not the other way around. I taught her the 3-6-9 pattern for prayer. 3 movements in every prayer. thankfulness, present tense acceptance, and faith. 6 elements every effective prayer contains: gratitude, present tense, feeling, belief, surrender, and amen. And 9 nights of this prayer before sleep, to impress the subconscious completely. Every night for 9 nights, she would sit in bed with her wallet. She'd take out the card with those 3 numbers, and she'd pray differently. Thank you, Father, for the abundance that flows to me now. I have everything I need. My supply is assured. I feel the joy of financial freedom. I believe this is done in consciousness now. I surrender all worry and accept your infinite provision. Amen. And as she prayed these words, she would feel them, not hope them, not wish them, but feel them as present reality. She told me it was hard at first. Her habit of worry was so strong. But she persisted. And something began to shift. Not in her bank account immediately, but in her. The anxiety lifted. The desperation eased. She began to feel peace about money for the first time in years. And then, as it always does, the outer world began to rearrange itself. A small inheritance from a distant relative, a refund on something, a gift from a friend, opportunities to earn a little extra. Nothing came from her worrying. Everything came from her new consciousness of supply. The circumstances didn't change first. She changed first. And when she changed, the circumstances had no choice but to follow. This is law. Let me tell you about a married couple I counseled. The husband was running the code forward. He was optimistic by nature, grateful, always expecting good things. The wife was running it backward. She was fearful, complaining, always expecting lack and problems. And they could not understand why their finances were such a struggle when he was doing everything right spiritually. I had to explain to them, 2 different consciousness patterns in one household create chaos. Your subconscious minds are broadcasting different frequencies. He's impressing abundance, she's impressing lack, and the result is confusion. The creative power doesn't know which instruction to follow when you're giving it opposite instructions. I taught them they needed to align their code. For 9 days they had to practice the same 3 movements, embody the same 6 principles, and make the same 9-day commitment together. They had to get into agreement in consciousness. Because when 2 minds impress the same pattern on their subconscious minds, the power multiplies. It doesn't just double, it multiplies exponentially. This is why Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in agreement, anything is possible. Agreement in consciousness is creative power magnified. They committed. Every morning together they'd look at the 3, 6, 9 reminder. They'd speak the same words of abundance. They'd feel the same feelings of supply. They'd accept the same reality of prosperity. Throughout the day, they'd check in with each other. Are we running the code forward or backward? Are we speaking faith or fear? Are we feeling abundant or lacking? And they'd correct course together. By day 9, their entire relationship had transformed. The tension about money was gone. They were united in consciousness for the first time in their marriage, and their outer world, it had to follow. Opportunities came that had been blocked before. Income increased. Unexpected blessings appeared. Not because they were lucky, but because they stopped fighting against each other in consciousness and started working together as one unified creative force. There was a man who came to me carrying his wallet like it was a burden. When I asked to see it, I understood why. Inside were photos. But not good photos. A photo of his broken down car. A photo of his aging mother he was worried about financially. Copies of his debt statements folded up. A list of bills due. He told me, Dr. Murphy, I keep these close, so I remember to handle them, so I remember to fix these problems. I said to him, do you understand what you've done? You've created a portable shrine to problems. Your wallet is a temple of worry that you visit every single day, multiple times a day. And every time you open it and see these images, these documents, you're impressing your subconscious with lack, breakdown, debt, and worry. Your subconscious is receiving a constant prayer. Give me more things to worry about, give me more breakdowns, give me more debt, give me more problems. And it's faithfully answering that prayer. He was shocked. He thought he was being responsible, keeping his problems close so he'd fix them. But he was actually making the problems permanent by constantly impressing them on his subconscious mind. We cleaned out that wallet. Every image of lack, every document of debt, everything that represented problems, we removed it all. Then we placed one card inside with 3 numbers, 369, and one statement, God's wealth flows to me continuously. I told him, this is your new shrine. This is what you'll meditate on multiple times every day now. This is the prayer your subconscious will receive, and for 9 days don't waver. Don't put those old things back. Don't check your account obsessively looking for proof. Just impress this new pattern faithfully for 9 days. He did it. And he told me later it was like watching a garden grow. The first few days, nothing visible changed. But by day 5, he realized he felt different, lighter, more hopeful, more energized. By day 7, opportunities he'd been blind to suddenly appeared. People he hadn't thought of reached out. Solutions presented themselves. By day 9, money was flowing from directions he hadn't expected, and he understood. It was always there. The supply was always available, but his consciousness had been blocking it. When he changed his consciousness, the blockage dissolved. These stories aren't special cases. They're examples of law. The same law that worked for them works for you, because the law is impersonal. It doesn't care who you are, where you came from, what you've done, or how long you've been poor. The law only cares about consciousness. Change consciousness, and the outer world must change. This is not my opinion. This is not my belief. This is demonstrable, repeatable, scientific, spiritual law. Now let me teach you the principles behind these stories. Let me show you why this works, so you're not just doing it blindly, but understanding the magnificent power you're working with. The divine code 369 isn't complicated. In fact, its power is in its simplicity. But you must understand each element, or you'll run the code unconsciously backward like most people do their entire lives. Let's talk about the 3 first. 3 represents the 3 movements of consciousness that must all align for you to create anything in your life, especially wealth. These 3 movements are thinking, feeling, and believing. Now, most people do 1 or 2 of these, and they wonder why nothing manifests. You might think about wealth sometimes, or you might feel good about money occasionally, or you might believe in general prosperity principles. But manifestation requires all 3 aligned simultaneously and consistently. Listen carefully to this. You can think about wealth all day long, but if you don't feel wealthy, nothing happens. Your thoughts alone are not creative. It's the thoughts united with feeling that impress the subconscious mind. And you can think and feel wealth temporarily, but if you don't truly believe it, if you don't accept it as reality in your consciousness, then it remains just a nice feeling with no creative power behind it. Most people run split code. They think wealth while feeling poor. This is the most common mistake. They say affirmations like, I am wealthy, I am abundant, I am rich, but the whole time they're saying it, they feel broke, they feel anxious, they feel lacking. And which impression does the subconscious receive? The feeling. Always the feeling. Your subconscious mind responds to feeling, not words. Words without feeling are just noise. But feeling is the language of the subconscious. The 3 movements must flow together. Think abundance, feel abundance, believe, and accept abundance. When these 3 are aligned, you've impressed the subconscious completely, and it must express what you've impressed. This is law. This is why 3 is the first number in the code. 3 movements, aligned, conscious, repeated. Now let's talk about the 6. 6 represents 6 principles that govern all prosperity, all wealth, all abundance in every person's life. If you violate these principles, you'll be poor. If you align with them, you'll be wealthy. They're not my principles, they're the principles built into the structure of consciousness itself. Principle 1, consciousness is cause, conditions are effects. This is the foundation of everything. Your outer world of money, your bank account, your income, your financial situation, these are all effects. They are the result, not the cause. The cause is your consciousness, your habitual state of mind and feeling about money. Stop trying to fix effects. You can't fix an effect. Change the cause, which is consciousness, and the effects change automatically. Principle 2. The subconscious accepts what you impress upon it. Your subconscious mind is completely neutral. It doesn't judge, doesn't argue, doesn't reject. It simply accepts whatever you repeatedly impress upon it with feeling. This is wonderful news and terrible news. Wonderful because it means you can impress anything you want. Terrible because it means you've been impressing poverty without realizing it. Impress lack, it produces lack. Impress abundance, it produces abundance. It's mechanical, reliable, impersonal law. Principle 3. Feeling is the secret. My dear friend Neville Goddard taught this beautifully, and I've proven it in thousands of cases. Feeling is the secret. Not thinking, not visualizing, not affirming. Feeling. When you feel wealthy despite your bank account, you've impressed wealth on your subconscious. When you feel poor despite your affirmations, you've impressed poverty. The feeling is what creates. The feeling is the prayer that gets answered. Principle 4. What you feel, you attract. This isn't some mystical law of attraction. This is simple psychological law. You move toward and create circumstances that match your dominant feeling. When you feel poor, you unconsciously make decisions from poverty, you speak from poverty, you act from poverty, and you create more poverty. When you feel wealthy, you make decisions from abundance, you speak from confidence, you act from supply, and you create more wealth. It's automatic. It's subconscious. But it's based entirely on feeling. Principle 5. Your world is your consciousness pushed out. Everything in your wallet, your bank account, your income, your whole financial life is your consciousness made visible. It's your inner world projected onto the outer screen of life. Don't like what you see in the outer world? Don't fight it, that's just the shadow. Change the inner world of consciousness, and the outer world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match. This is why changing circumstances without changing consciousness never works. The old consciousness just recreates the old circumstances. Principle 6. Supply follows the person in supply consciousness. You don't get money and then feel wealthy. That's backward. You feel wealthy first, and then money comes. You enter the consciousness of supply despite current appearances, and supply flows to that consciousness. The person who feels rich despite being broke is on the fast track to wealth. The person who feels poor despite being rich is on the fast track to poverty. Consciousness always comes first. Always. The outer world is always secondary, always following, never leading. These 6 principles, when you understand them deeply and live by them, make prosperity inevitable. Not maybe, not hopefully, but inevitable. Because you're aligning with the law of consciousness itself. Now let's talk about 9. Why 9 days? Why not 3 days or 30 days or 1 day? Because 9 days is the time it takes to impress your subconscious mind with a new pattern so deeply that it becomes the dominant pattern. Let me explain. Your subconscious mind has been programmed for poverty for how long? Years? Decades? Maybe your whole life. Those grooves are deep. Those patterns are established. They're running automatically, creating your current reality automatically. 1 day of opposite impression is just a drop in the ocean. 3 days is a good start, but not enough to override years of opposite programming. But 9 days of consistent, focused, feeling-filled impression begins to cut a new groove, a new pattern that can override the old. This isn't arbitrary. This is how the subconscious works. It needs repetition, it needs consistency, it needs time to accept new programming as the dominant program. 9 days provides exactly that. It's long enough to create real change, but short enough that you can maintain commitment without losing focus. Here's what happens in 9 days. Days 1 through 3, you're fighting the old pattern. Your habitual thoughts and feelings of lack try to reassert themselves. This is normal. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just encountering the resistance of old programming. Days 4 through 6, the old pattern weakens and the new pattern starts gaining strength. You begin to feel different. The anxiety lessens. Hope emerges. The new consciousness starts to feel natural. Days 7 through 9, the new pattern becomes dominant. Your subconscious accepts it as the truth. Your outer world begins shifting to match. By day 9, you're not the same person in consciousness who started on day 1. And different consciousness must produce different results. But here's the key. The 9 days must be consecutive and unbroken. If you miss a day, if you run the code backward for even 1 day in the middle, you break the pattern and weaken the impression. You must start over. The subconscious needs that consistent, repeated, unbroken impression to accept it as true. This is why commitment matters. This is why I ask you for 9 days. Not forever, just 9 days of focused practice. After 9 days, the pattern is set. You can continue it and you should, but the critical impression has been made. Now let me talk to you about something that confuses many people. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue with you. It doesn't fight you. It doesn't resist you. It is the most obedient servant you'll ever have. Whatever you impress upon it with feeling, it accepts as true and must express in your outer world. This is magnificent power, but most people use it against themselves without realizing it. Listen to me carefully. Your subconscious doesn't care if you're rich or poor. It has no preference. It's completely neutral. It only knows, this is what you're impressing on me with feeling, this is what I must express in your life. When you impress lack, worry, fear, and scarcity, your subconscious says, understood, I'll create more of that. When you impress abundance, gratitude, peace, and plenty, your subconscious says, understood, I'll create more of that. Same power, same mechanism, different instruction. This is why most people struggle. They try to force prosperity while feeling poor. They're running two codes simultaneously, two opposite instructions, and which one does the subconscious follow? The dominant feeling? Always the dominant feeling. You can say I am wealthy 1,000,000 times, but if the dominant feeling is I am broke, your subconscious produces broke. The feeling always wins over the words. This is also why willpower doesn't work. You can't force your way to wealth. You can't muscle your way into prosperity. Willpower is conscious mind. But your conscious mind is tiny compared to your subconscious. Your subconscious is running the show 95% of the time, creating your reality based on whatever you've impressed upon it. So stop fighting yourself. Stop trying to override your subconscious with effort. Instead, learn to program it correctly. Learn to impress what you want instead of what you don't want. When you accept in consciousness, truly accept, that you are wealthy now, not someday but now, your subconscious must express that acceptance in your outer world. This is acceptance, this is faith. Not hoping, not wishing, not trying, accepting. When you accept that God's infinite supply is yours now, when you accept that wealth is your natural state, when you accept that prosperity is flowing to you this very moment, your subconscious receives that acceptance and says, yes, this is truth, I will express it, and it must. This is law, this is principle. This is the power you're working with. Your subconscious is your faithful servant. It has never disobeyed you, not once in your entire life. It has faithfully produced poverty when you impressed poverty. It will faithfully produce wealth when you impress wealth. It doesn't judge your instruction. It simply obeys. So stop blaming your subconscious. Stop blaming God. Stop blaming circumstances. Your subconscious is doing exactly what you've been unconsciously instructing it to do. Now you're going to instruct it consciously. Let me talk about prayer for a moment, because this is where most people go completely wrong. Most people pray for money, which is the prayer of lack. The very phrasing praying for implies you don't have, and that implication of not having is what impresses the subconscious, not your hopeful words. So you pray and pray and pray, and nothing happens, or things get worse. And you think prayer doesn't work, or God isn't listening, or you're not worthy. None of that is true. Prayer works perfectly. God is always listening. You are absolutely worthy. The problem is, you're praying from lack for abundance, which impresses lack. The prayer that works, the prayer that creates, the prayer that gets answered is the prayer from abundance with thanksgiving. You pray as if you already have what you're seeking. You pray from the consciousness of wealth, not from the consciousness of poverty hoping for wealth. You say, thank you, Father, for the wealth that is mine now. Thank you for the abundant supply that flows to me continuously. Thank you for financial freedom and peace. I have all I need and more. I am supplied by infinite intelligence. All is well. And as you pray these words, you feel them as truth right now, not future hope, but present reality. This is the prayer of faith. This is the prayer that impresses the subconscious with abundance. This is the prayer that creates. Jesus taught this. He said, when you pray, believe you have already received, and you shall have. Believe you have already received. Present tense, done now in consciousness. That belief, that acceptance, that feeling of already having is what impresses the subconscious, and your subconscious, receiving that impression, must make it visible in your outer world. So the 3-6-9 pattern in prayer is this. 3 elements: thank you, expressing gratitude. I have, speaking in present tense. I accept, demonstrating faith. 6 times daily minimum you pray this way. Morning, midday, evening, and every time you open your wallet is a bonus prayer opportunity. 9 days minimum to impress this pattern completely on your subconscious. After 9 days of this prayer pattern, your consciousness is transformed. Your subconscious has accepted abundance as truth, and your outer world must reflect that truth. But here's what makes this practical and powerful. You don't need to set aside hours for prayer. Your wallet is your portable altar. Your daily life is your prayer mat. Every time you reach for your wallet, you're in a prayer opportunity. This is why placing those 3 numbers inside your wallet is so powerful. Every glance becomes a reminder. Every opening becomes a chance to choose. Do I pray lack, or do I pray abundance right now? Do I run the code forward or backward? Do I impress poverty or prosperity in this moment? Without the reminder, you run the old code automatically. You open your wallet and automatically feel anxiety, automatically worry, automatically impress lack. This is habit, unconscious habit built over years. But with the 3-6-9 card visible in your wallet, you interrupt that automatic pattern. You see those numbers, you remember, you pause, and you choose consciously. In that 3-second pause, you can feel gratitude instead of worry. You can feel supply instead of lack. You can run the code forward instead of backward. Most people pray for money once a day if they pray at all. Maybe in the morning, maybe at night. But with this practice, you're praying every time you access your wallet. 3 times a day, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. That repetition is what impresses the subconscious. That frequency is what creates the new dominant pattern. Water shapes stone not by force but by frequency. Your wallet practice shapes your subconscious not by effort but by frequency. And here's the beautiful thing. You're not adding something complicated to your life. You're not setting aside extra time. You're simply transforming something you already do multiple times daily into conscious practice. You already open your wallet. You already access it for transactions, for cards, for receipts. Now you're making those moments sacred. You're turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. You're making every wallet opening a prayer session, a consciousness check, a creative moment. The sacred doesn't require special locations or special times. The sacred is in the ordinary when you bring consciousness to it. Your wallet becomes as holy as any church when you use it consciously for impressing prosperity on your subconscious mind. Your daily transactions become as powerful as any ceremony when you bring the feeling of abundance to them. This is practical spirituality. This is the law in action in everyday life. Now let me give you the exact practice, step by step, so you know precisely what to do starting tonight. First, you need to create your 3-6-9 card. Get a small piece of cardstock or heavy paper that fits easily in your wallet. If you don't have that, cut down an index card. Business card size works perfectly. On one side of this card, write the numbers clearly. 3, 6, 9. Make them visible, easy to read at a glance. On the other side, write a short statement that represents the consciousness you want to impress. Something like, God's infinite supply flows to me now. Or, I am wealth in consciousness. Or, all my needs are met abundantly. Or, infinite riches are mine now. Choose words that resonate with you, that create a feeling of supply when you read them. Why both sides? The numbers remind you of the code, the pattern, the practice. They trigger your memory. 3 movements of consciousness, 6 principles to embody, 9 days of commitment. The statement gives your subconscious the specific impression to accept. Together, they're a complete programming tool. The numbers are your reminder. The statement is your program. When you place this card in your wallet, do it consciously, not casually. Hold it for a moment, look at it, say aloud or in your mind, this begins my 9 days. Starting right now, I impress wealth consciousness on my subconscious mind. I run the divine code forward. I think abundance. I feel abundance. I accept abundance. This card is my reminder, my tool, my sacred symbol, and for 9 days, I commit completely. This isn't just putting paper in your wallet. This is a sacred act. This is the moment you choose to change your consciousness and therefore your life. Place the card where you'll see it easily when you open your wallet. Where money goes, where your cards are, wherever ensures you'll see those numbers multiple times every day. Some people put it in the bill section. Some put it in a clear window slot. Some put it right in front where it's the first thing visible. Find what works for you, but make sure it's visible and obvious. Now, your first practice point, the morning ritual. This sets your consciousness for the entire day. Before you check your phone, before you start your daily routine, before you do anything else, do this. Take out your wallet, open it, look at your 3, 6, 9 card, hold it if you want, and say aloud or silently, "Today I run the divine code forward. I think abundance. I feel abundance. I accept abundance as my reality." Then close your eyes for 60 seconds. Just 1 minute. In that minute, feel what it feels like to be wealthy right now. Not imagine being wealthy someday. Feel wealthy right now in this present moment. How does it feel in your body? What does financial peace feel like? What does abundance feel like? Let that feeling fill you. Imagine your wallet full. Imagine your bills paid. Imagine your needs met with plenty left over. Imagine having surplus to give, to share, to bless others with. Really feel it. Make it vivid. Make it real in consciousness. Then say, "Thank you, Father, for the wealth that is mine now in consciousness. Thank you for infinite supply flowing to me continuously. I accept this. I know this is truth. All is well." Open your eyes and begin your day from this consciousness, from this feeling, from this acceptance. Why morning? Because you impress your subconscious in its most receptive state. In the morning, just after waking, your subconscious is open, malleable, ready to receive instruction. What you impress in these first minutes colors your entire day. Start with lack, you'll see lack all day. Start with abundance, you'll see abundance all day. The morning impression is the seed for the day's harvest. Your second practice point, the wallet check-in. This is the most frequent practice, and it's what makes this so powerful. Every single time you open your wallet throughout the day, without exception, do this. See the 369 card immediately. Let your eyes land on it. Pause for just 3 seconds, that's all. In those 3 seconds, make 3 movements. Feel gratitude. Thank you for supply. Feel wealth. I am abundant. Feel acceptance. All is well. 3 seconds, 3 movements. That's it. Then proceed with whatever transaction you were doing. Get your card, take out money, whatever you need. But those 3 seconds before the transaction have just impressed abundance on your subconscious instead of lack. You've just prayed prosperity instead of poverty. You've just run the code forward instead of backward. Think about this. You'll open your wallet how many times today? 3 times? 5 times? 10 times? Every single opening is a prayer opportunity. Every single glance at that card is a consciousness choice. Without the practice, you'd automatically feel anxiety or worry or lack. With the practice, you consciously choose to feel grateful, wealthy, and accepting. Multiply that by several times a day. Multiply that by 9 days. Do you see the power? You're impressing your subconscious with abundance literally dozens of times a day. And the beautiful thing is, it becomes automatic. After a few days of this practice, you'll open your wallet and automatically feel gratitude before you even consciously think about it. Your subconscious learns the new pattern. What was effort becomes ease. What was conscious becomes automatic. And when grateful, abundant, accepting becomes your automatic response to your wallet, you've reprogrammed your subconscious completely. The outer world of money must now match this inner world of consciousness. Your third practice point, the evening impression. This is the most powerful practice of the entire day. Just before sleep, do this. Sit in your bed with your wallet. Take out the 369 card. Hold it. Look at it. Review your day. How many times did I run the code forward today? How many times backward? Don't judge yourself. Just notice. If you ran it backward at times, if you felt lack or worry, if you forgot to pause and choose, that's okay. Say to yourself, I'm learning. Tomorrow I do better. I forgive myself. I release all worry. Now impress your subconscious for the night. This is critical. Hold your card, close your eyes, and say these words with feeling. As I sleep tonight, my subconscious mind accepts complete wealth consciousness. I am wealthy, I am supplied. I am abundant, every need is met, every desire is fulfilled, infinite riches flow to me now. I feel financial freedom and peace. I accept this as truth. All is well. Thank you, Father. Amen. As you say these words, feel them. Don't just recite them. Feel wealthy right now. Feel supplied. Feel abundant. Feel at peace about money. Let that feeling saturate you. Then drift to sleep in that feeling. Let the feeling of wealth be the last impression of your day. Why is this so powerful? Because your subconscious is most impressionable in the moments just before sleep. In that drowsy state between waking and sleeping, your conscious mind relaxes its guard. Your subconscious opens completely. Whatever you impress here works in you all night long. Your subconscious accepts it deeply. It integrates it. It makes it part of your dominant consciousness. The last thought before sleep is the first seed for tomorrow's harvest. Make it a thought and feeling of wealth. Many people have told me, Dr. Murphy, I did nothing but the evening impression, and my life changed. Just that one practice before sleep was enough to shift everything, because it's that powerful. 8 hours of sleep with your subconscious working on the instruction of wealth consciousness, multiplied by 9 nights, creates transformation. Your fourth practice point, the 9-day commitment. This is where most people fail, and this is where you must succeed. The rules are simple, but non-negotiable. 9 days consecutive, no breaking the pattern. If you miss a day, if you forget the practice entirely for one day, if you run the code backward all day without correction, you must start over. The 9 days must be unbroken for the pattern to impress completely. No arguing with appearances. Your bank account may not change in 9 days. Your bills don't magically disappear. That's fine. Expect it even. You're changing consciousness first. The outer must follow the inner. But there's a time lag. Don't let appearances discourage you. Don't let the unchanged outer world convince you this isn't working. You're working in consciousness. Consciousness is cause. The effects will follow when the cause is established. Trust the process. No telling everyone. This is between you and your subconscious. Don't dilute the power by explaining to everyone what you're doing. Don't seek validation from skeptics. Don't argue with people who don't understand. Keep it sacred. Keep it private. Do the work silently. Let your results speak louder than your explanations ever could. No testing it. Don't open your wallet looking for proof. Don't check your bank account 10 times a day waiting for miracles. Don't obsessively monitor for changes. That's doubt, and doubt impresses lack. Instead, plant the seed of abundance through your practice, then let it grow. Trust that the law is working. Trust that your subconscious is faithful. Trust that consciousness produces results. The farmer doesn't dig up seeds to see if they're growing. He plants, waters, and waits with faith. Do the same. On day 9, don't stop. You've impressed the pattern. You've set the law in motion. You've changed your consciousness. But don't abandon the practice. Continue it. By day 9, it should feel natural, easy, automatic. Continue using your wallet as a prayer tool. Continue the morning ritual. Continue the evening impression. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've become it. You're no longer trying to feel wealthy. You are wealthy in consciousness. The practice is now your natural expression. What should you expect in 9 days? Most people notice an internal shift by day 3 or 4. You feel different, less anxious, more at peace, more hopeful, more energized. This is your consciousness changing. This is the old pattern losing power and the new pattern gaining power. Most people notice external shifts by day 7 through 9. Circumstances start moving. Opportunities appear. Money flows from unexpected sources. Sometimes it's dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. But it's always there if you've been faithful to the practice. By day 9, you're not the same person in consciousness who started on day 1. You've spent 9 days impressing wealth instead of lack. You've spent 9 days running the code forward instead of backward. You've spent 9 days programming your subconscious with abundance instead of poverty, and that new programming must express itself. This is law. This is principle. This is your divine inheritance operating properly. But understand this clearly. The 9 days isn't a magic trick. It's not that 9 is a lucky number and things happen automatically. The 9 days is your commitment to consistent practice. It's the time it takes to override years of opposite programming. It's how long you must impress the new pattern to make it dominant. The power isn't in 9. The power is in you, in your consciousness, in your consistent application of these principles for 9 unbroken days. Some people ask me, Dr. Murphy, what if nothing happens after 9 days? What if my circumstances don't change? I tell them, you're asking the wrong question. The right question is, has your consciousness changed? Do you feel differently about money? Do you feel more at peace? Do you feel more supplied? If yes, then everything has happened. The outer world is just catching up to the inner world. Continue the practice. Stay in the consciousness. The outer must match the inner. This is law. It has no choice. Other people ask, what if I break the pattern on day 5? Do I really have to start over? Yes. I know that sounds harsh, but yes. Because the subconscious needs consistent, unbroken impression. Breaking the pattern weakens the impression. It's like trying to boil water but turning off the heat every few minutes. You never reach boiling point. Commit to 9 days unbroken. If you break it, start fresh. It's worth it. 9 days of your life to reprogram decades of poverty consciousness? That's the best investment you'll ever make. Now let me bring all of this together for you. You've heard the stories, you've learned the principles, you've received the practices. You understand the divine code, 3 movements of consciousness, 6 principles of prosperity, 9 days of commitment. You know your wallet is a sacred tool, not just leather and fabric. You know your subconscious is neutral, faithful, and always creating based on what you impress. You know that feeling is the secret, that consciousness is cause, that you're always running the code either forward or backward. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it be just interesting information? Or will you apply it? Will you commit to 9 days? Will you create your card tonight? Will you begin the practice immediately? I want to tell you something from my heart. I've taught these principles to thousands of people over 30 years. Some apply them and transform their lives. Others hear them, agree with them, and do nothing. The principles work the same for everyone. The law is impersonal, but the application is personal. You must choose to apply it. You must commit to the practice. You must run the code forward consistently. You are not poor. You never were poor. Poverty is not your nature. Wealth is your divine inheritance. You are made in the image and likeness of infinite intelligence, which is infinitely abundant. Everything you need is already yours in consciousness. The only question is, are you accepting it or rejecting it? Are you impressing abundance or lack? Are you running the divine code forward or backward? Your wallet right now contains your financial prayer. What prayer is it praying? If it's full of worry, debt, and lack reminders, it's praying for more poverty. If it contains the 3, 6, 9 code with a statement of abundance, it's praying for wealth. The choice is entirely yours. The power is entirely yours. The law is entirely available to you. All that's required is your decision to use it correctly. These 9 days will pass whether you practice or not. 9 days from now, you'll look back on this moment. Will you look back with regret, wishing you'd started? Or will you look back with joy, amazed at how different you feel, how different your consciousness is, how different your life is becoming? That choice is yours right now, in this moment. Take the card, write the numbers, 369, write your statement of abundance, place it in your wallet tonight, look at it and say, this begins my transformation. For 9 days I commit completely. I will think abundance, feel abundance, accept abundance. I will run the divine code forward. I will impress wealth on my subconscious mind faithfully, and I will watch as my outer world rearranges itself to match my inner world. This I commit to. This I choose. This begins now. And as you make that commitment, know that you're not alone. Thousands have walked this path before you. Thousands are walking it with you now. And the same divine mind, the same infinite intelligence, the same subconscious power that lifted them will lift you. You're not hoping for a miracle, you're applying a law. And law always works when you work it correctly. So let me give you a closing prayer, an affirmation in my words that you can make your own. Say this with me now. Feel it as you say it. Let it impress your subconscious even as we speak these words together. I am the divine expression of infinite supply. My wallet is a symbol of God's abundance flowing to me continuously. I think wealth. I feel wealth. I accept wealth as my present reality. My subconscious mind is now impressed with complete prosperity consciousness. Money comes to me easily, joyfully, abundantly from expected and unexpected sources. I run the divine code forward, and my outer world reflects the wealth that I am in consciousness. Every need is met, every desire is fulfilled. I am financially free and at peace. Thank you, Father, for the riches that are mine now. I accept this, I believe this, I know this is truth, and so it is. Amen. Put this in your heart, put the numbers in your wallet, put the next 9 days into devoted practice. Give yourself fully to this transformation, and watch what happens when you stop praying for money and start praying from the consciousness of wealth. Watch what happens when you stop running the code backward and start running it forward. Watch what happens when you transform your wallet from a shrine of poverty into a temple of prosperity. If this message resonates deep within you, if you feel something shift inside as you hear these words, I ask you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel so you receive every teaching I share. Each video is designed to help you understand and apply the laws of mind, the principles of prosperity, the power of your subconscious. Click the like button because it helps others who desperately need this message find it. When you like this video, you're helping someone else discover the divine code. You're helping someone else transform their relationship with money. You're participating in spreading truth. And most importantly, comment below and tell me, what will you write on your 369 card? What statement will you impress on your subconscious for the next 9 days? Share it in the comments. I read every single one. Your commitment inspires others. When you declare your intention publicly, you strengthen your commitment privately. Write it down, post it, make it real, and in 9 days, come back and tell me what happened. Tell me how your consciousness changed. Tell me what shifts you noticed. Tell me how the outer world began reflecting your inner transformation. Your testimony will inspire thousands of others to begin their own 9-day journey. Your story will give hope to someone who's struggling right now. Share your experience. It matters more than you know. Remember this, you're not alone on this journey. You're part of a community of people who understand these principles, who apply these laws, who've proven in their own lives that consciousness creates reality. Thousands have walked this path before you, and every single one who committed fully to the practice saw results. Not because they were special, but because the law is reliable. And the divine mind that lifted me from immigrant poverty to abundance, the same power that transformed that woman with tears in my office, the same consciousness that shifted that young man's entire financial reality, that same infinite intelligence is available to you right now. Not someday. Not when you're worthy. Right now. You are already worthy. You are already connected to infinite supply. You've just been running the code backward. Now you're going to turn it around. 9 days from now, your consciousness will be different. When consciousness changes, everything changes. The outer world must reorganize itself to match the inner world. This is law. This is principle. This is your divine inheritance finally operating as it was designed to operate. This is Joseph Murphy, reminding you that your subconscious mind is your most faithful servant. It never disobeys. It never fails. It simply creates, based on what you impress. For years you've been impressing poverty without knowing it. Now you know. Now you understand. Now you have the divine code. Give your subconscious the code of abundance. Impress it faithfully for 9 days, and watch as it creates the wealth you've always deserved, the prosperity that's always been yours, the abundance that is your divine birthright. Begin tonight. The next 9 days will change your life. God bless you, and thank you for letting me share this wisdom with you.